in the complete separation of church and state have been circulating misinformation about the legalities of public celebrations of Christmas, seeking to combine Christmas to the church or the home. And as a result, many public officials have been misled into believing that Christ must be removed from Christmas in public venues. Look what happened in Amelia, Ohio. They thought they were going to be sued. And despite these new assaults on Christmas, the Constitution does not require public officials to entirely obliterate religious themes or displays from public Christmas observances. We talked about this last week. In fact, no court has ever ruled that the Constitution prohibits Christmas carols, Christmas displays, or Christmas greetings in public streets, parks, schools, or commercial establishments, as long as the religious items are included along with secular symbols of the holiday season. And we've talked about the Establishment Clause, which again is in the First Amendment. It says Congress shall pass no law, protecting or promoting the establishment of a religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. And under Lemon v. Kurtzman, this is kind of the Establishment Clause litmus test. It's a practice which touches upon religion, if it's to be permissible under the Establishment Clause, must not advance or inhibit religion in its principal or primary effect. The clause, and this is exact wording from the Supreme Court, the clause at the very least prohibits government from appearing to take a position on questions of religious belief or from making adherence to a religion relevant in any way to a person's standing in the political community. Now, what Justice Day O'Connor did was she came up with a test, and this was regarding a nativity scene case, but it was in Lynch versus Donnelly, which is one of the first nativity scene cases. And she proposed what's called an endorsement test. And in it, this 1984 case of Lynch versus Donnelly, she asked whether a particular government action amounts to an endorsement of religion, thus violating the Establishment Clause of the First Amendment. What this test is a government action's invalid if it creates a perception in the mind of a reasonable observer that the government is either endorsing or disapproving religion. They can't do either one, endorse or disapprove, if it creates that perception in the mind of a reasonable observer. Let's look at this case, Lynch versus Donnelly. This was the first Supreme Court case on nativity scenes. In Pawtucket, Rhode Island's annual Christmas display in the city's shopping district consisted of Santa Claus house, a Christmas tree, a banner reading season's greetings, and a nativity scene. And this was challenged in court. And this had been part of Pawtucket, Rhode Island for 40 years. And the court allowed the display of this nativity scene on public property. And look at some of the reasoning that it says, because I think this is really interesting. The court, this is the Supreme Court majority opinion, and again, this is a quote from the court. The court has sometimes described the religion clauses as erecting a wall between church and state. This is in Everson versus Board of Education. The concept of a wall of separation is a useful figure of speech, probably deriving from views of Thomas Jefferson. The metaphor has served as a reminder that the Establishment Clause forbids an established church. We talked about that, or anything approaching it. But, this is a big but, the metaphor itself is not a wholly accurate description of the practical aspects of the relationship that in fact exists between the church and state. They continue, this is the Supreme Court majority opinion, Lynch versus Donnelly. No significant segment of our society and no institution within it can exist in a vacuum or in a total or absolute isolation from all other parts, much less from government. It has never been thought either possible or desirable to enforce a regime of total separation, this is total separation of church and state, nor does the Constitution require complete separation of church and state. This is the Supreme Court that's saying this. And why is this stuff always told to us, that there has to be complete separation of church and state? It affirmatively mandates accommodation, not merely tolerance of all religions, and forbids hostility towards any. The First Amendment is being used as being hostile towards Christianity. And the court says anything less would require the callous indifference we have said was never intended by the Establishment Clause. Indeed, we have observed such hostility would bring us into war with our national tradition as embodied in the First Amendment's guarantee of the free exercise of religion. That is Sandra Day O'Connor. And it was never meant that there was to be a war like that. There's an official, and if we look at Zorak versus Clausen, we see this again, that there's an unbroken history of an official acknowledgement by all three branches of government of the role of religion in American life. They stated that we are a religious people whose institutions presuppose a supreme being, and our history is replete with official references to the value and invocation of divine guidance and deliberations and pronouncements by the founding fathers and contemporary leaders. Now, there was a case I want to look at briefly in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Now, this case actually, they said, violated the Establishment Clause, and you can read up there regarding it. There were 2 displays that were in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, public-sponsored displays, and the ACLU claimed the displays constituted state endorsement of religion. One was a Christian nativity scene inside the Allen County Courthouse. Now, the court, in a 5-4 decision, so it was pretty close, the court held that the cliché, which is the nativity scene, inside the courthouse unmistakably endorsed Christianity. This is actually the next graphic here, where we talk about another case where it violated the Establishment Clause. And the court said, and the reason why they said this one did, was there was a display of words that said, "Glory to God for the birth of Jesus Christ." The county sent a clear message that it supported and promoted Christian orthodoxy. The court also held, however, that not all religious celebrations on government property violated the Establishment Clause. This one, because of the message, they said it did, but again, we covered in the last show that if you have secular symbols there, you can absolutely have a nativity scene on public property. So we need to know our rights, because the Constitution guarantees both freedom of speech and free exercise of religion. Private religious speech, this is again on the graphic, such as saying Merry Christmas, even in public schools or workplace, is protected speech under the First Amendment. The next graphic, you have more rights than you think. There are many opportunities to express the religious significance of Christians in the public arena. So we need to know your rights, and there's 4 areas here I want to go through quickly. Your children may sing Christmas carols, number 1, during school concerts, as long as other secular songs are included in the selections. And your community or workplace is not required to ban religious content from their holiday celebrations. Number 2, children may give religious gifts to their teachers or to other students, just as government and other employees may give religious greetings to coworkers. Number 3, a public school or local community may include religious items in a holiday or winter display, as long as they are part of a combined secular religious display. And the 4th one is a public school student may write about his Christmas observations or discuss them in a class presentation, and a teacher is permitted to provide an objective explanation of the religious origins of Christmas as part of a curriculum about the culture and religious aspects of national holidays. Government officials may also recognize the religious aspects of the celebration. So these are some of your rights, and we as Christians need to fight to take back Christmas. Now is not the time to lay down our spiritual arms and surrender to the very small percentage of Americans who are hostile towards Christianity and who want to eliminate all things religious, including Christmas, from our national life. Let us not only with confidence keep Christ in Christmas, but let's use this season as an opportunity to proclaim Him as the Savior. There's tremendous stuff. I know there's a lot of material there. We're going to post it on our website. But Christ was never meant by the Constitution to be removed from Christmas. And this wall of separation of church and state has been misused. And as the Supreme Court said, we are not at war with our religious heritage.